7 signs that God is preparing to release something extraordinary into your life. You didn't click on this by accident. This message is meant for you. There's something stirring deep inside, something you've been sensing for a while now. Have you noticed the subtle changes in your life? The atmosphere feels different, doesn't it? Your routine, once predictable and familiar, is now being disrupted. Things that once made perfect sense now seem out of place. The people around you may not understand it, but deep down, you know something huge is coming. It's not just a passing feeling. It's your spirit aligning with something divine that's unfolding just out of view. You've felt the silence from heaven, haven't you? You've wondered, God, where are you? Why am I not hearing from you like before? Perhaps you feel uneasy in places where you once felt confident, and you're feeling more inclined to pray, listen, and let go of the things that no longer serve your purpose. But here's the truth. This isn't random. This is divine preparation. God doesn't do things without purpose, and when He is about to do something big in your life, He gives you signs. These signs might not always be loud and obvious, but they are there, and they are real. Recognize them, and your perspective on your current season will shift drastically. From the beginning of time, whenever God was about to make a major move, He provided subtle but unmistakable signs. Before any breakthrough, there were patterns. Before the promise, there was always a process. When we understand these signs, we can better interpret the seasons we are in. If you miss these signs, you might mislabel your current season as something negative, when in fact, it's divine positioning for a massive blessing. This message is for those who feel stretched, who feel like they're on the verge of breaking. Maybe you're not breaking. Maybe you're about to be birthed into something far greater. So, let me show you the signs that God is preparing to release something so big that it will change everything in your life. Are you ready to learn what these signs are? Let's begin. Sign 1. Divine silence. Heaven's quiet before the storm. There are moments in your life when everything just goes still. You pray, but it feels like your words just disappear into thin air. You worship, but it doesn't feel as intimate as it used to. You look for answers, and yet heaven seems to remain silent. But let me tell you something. This is not just silence. It is divine silence. It's the kind of silence that precedes something powerful. God has a purpose for this silence, and it's not a sign of abandonment. In fact, it's one of the clearest signs that God is working that suggests God is distant. It is the divine kind of quiet where God is aligning things in the spiritual realm that you cannot see with your physical eyes. Amos 8:11 says, "The days are coming, declares the sovereign Lord, when I will send a famine through the land, not a famine of food or a thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord." This silence isn't random, it's prophetic. It's a strategic quiet that allows for God's plans to unfold in perfect timing. Before Jesus began His ministry, there were 400 years of silence. No prophecies, no divine messages, no angelic appearances. But this was not a void. It was a time of divine incubation. Heaven was positioning the world for the coming of the Messiah. When you're in a season of silence, it's easy to feel like you've been abandoned. But God is using this silence to prepare you for what's next. He's removing distractions, closing unnecessary doors, and silencing the noise of the world so you can hear His voice clearly. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. God is setting the stage for something extraordinary. If you're in a quiet season, understand that this is not a punishment, it's preparation. You might not hear God speaking right now, but He is moving. And when He breaks the silence, it will be with favor and breakthroughs. Sign 2. Unexplainable restlessness, a holy stirring. Have you been feeling restless? That unease in your spirit is a divine sign that God is preparing you for something greater. The place you once called comfortable now feels restrictive. Your routines that once brought peace now feel confining. The things that once brought you joy no longer satisfy you. That's not a sign of discontentment. That is divine restlessness. In Philippians 3:13-14, Paul writes, "Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize." When God is about to move you to a new level, He will begin by unsettling you in the place where you've been. He will cause your spirit to outgrow your surroundings, whether it's your job, your relationships, your city, or even your habits. The things that once felt familiar and safe now feel small, and that's because God is preparing you for something bigger. This restlessness is not an accident, it's divine displacement. God is preparing you for something new, and He is shifting your spiritual appetite. He's removing your desire for things that no longer align with your purpose and elevating your hunger for what's coming. God will disturb your peace, but not to destroy it, to redirect it. The restlessness you feel is a sign that God is calling you out of the old and into the new. If you've been feeling like you don't fit where you are anymore, it's because your future is calling you forward. You are being repositioned to walk into your next season. Sign 3. Strange opposition without a cause. The spiritual battle intensifies. Have you noticed that the closer you get to your breakthrough, the more opposition you face? People who once supported you now seem distant. Conversations that used to flow now feel strained. Doors that were wide open suddenly slammed shut. It doesn't make sense and it feels confusing. But here's the truth. This opposition is spiritual. It's not about what you've done wrong. It's about what's about to happen in your life. The enemy sees the movement of God in your life and is trying to interfere with it. Psalm 105-19 says, "Until the time came to fulfill his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character. Before Joseph was elevated to the palace, he was betrayed, falsely accused, and forgotten. Why? Because divine destiny attracts demonic resistance. The closer you get to God's promise, the harder the enemy will fight you. But don't mistake this opposition for rejection. It is, in fact, a sign that you are closer to your breakthrough than ever before. The devil doesn't fight what isn't a threat. He fights what he fears. If you're under strange, unexplained opposition, it's because the enemy sees the magnitude of what God is about to release in your life. Opposition is not rejection, it's confirmation. When you face resistance without a clear cause, understand that you are standing at the edge of something big. Sign 4. Accelerated loss or separation. Divine pruning. There are times when it feels like everything is falling apart. Friendships you thought would last forever fade away. Opportunities you thought were guaranteed slip through your fingers. Plans that seemed certain suddenly fall apart. This is divine pruning. It can feel painful, but it is God making Jesus says, "Every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful." God only prunes what He plans to multiply. If you're going through a season of accelerated loss, whether it's people, relationships, or opportunities, it's not because you're being punished. It's because God is making space for something much greater. When God is preparing to elevate you, He will sometimes remove everything that cannot sustain the weight of your next season. Loss isn't punishment, it's preparation. That relationship that ended wasn't an accident, it was divine protection. That job you lost wasn't a setback. It was God clearing the way for something better. God is not being cruel when He prunes you. He's making room for a bigger blessing. If everything is falling away, it's because He's getting ready to bring something greater into your life. Sign 5. Sudden vision or burden for more. Awakening purpose. Have you ever experienced a moment when, out of nowhere, you begin to dream again? Your spirit stirs with ideas and desires that you haven't thought about in years. You suddenly feel a deep passion for something bigger than yourself, something you never imagined pursuing. This is a sign that God is waking up the dreams He planted within you long ago. In Habakkuk 2:2, the Bible says, "Write the vision and make it plain, so that he who reads it may run with it." When God is about to do something big, He often reignites vision and purpose in your heart. What's happening inside you is not a coincidence. The desire to start a business, to write a book, to launch a ministry, these are divine stirrings. These dreams are not new. They've been dormant, waiting for the right time to be activated. If you've been feeling a fresh hunger for something bigger, don't dismiss it. God is awakening your purpose, preparing you for something much greater than you could have imagined. This vision is a divine direction, and it's the first sign that God is positioning you for something massive. Sign 6. Divine disruption of routine. God interrupts your path. You've been living life with a certain rhythm. Everything is predictable, your routine feels normal, and you have plans set in place. But suddenly, everything shifts. Life doesn't feel the same. There's a delay, a detour, or a door that unexpectedly closes. What feels like your life falling apart might actually be God putting together the pieces of your future. Sometimes, the divine disruption of your routine is God's way of reordering your life. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." What feels like a setback or a mistake is often God's way of pausing your progress to reposition you for something greater. If your routine has been disrupted, whether through job loss, a relationship change, or unexpected obstacles, don't be quick to assume the enemy is at work. Sometimes, what feels like disruption is actually divine direction. It's God redirecting you because your plans were too small for what He wants to do in your life. Sign 7. Deep inner knowing. Awakening your prophetic sensitivity. You know it in your spirit, something is coming. There's an inner knowing, a divine pull within you that you can't quite explain. Even in moments of silence or worship, you feel it. This is God awakening your prophetic sensitivity. Before God releases something big in your life, He awakens your inner discernment. You may feel an urgency to prepare, to separate from distractions, and to align yourself with what God is about to do. Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" That inner stirring is not just emotion, it's revelation. God is confirming to you what's coming before it even manifests. Your spirit is being aligned with His plans for your life. If you've been feeling an urgency to prepare, if you've been sensing something big in your spirit, that's God awakening you for what's next. Now that you've recognized these signs, what will you do with this message? This wasn't just another video, it was a divine interruption. Heaven led you here to prepare you for something massive. What you've been sensing is real. God is stirring your spirit because something big is on the way. This is not a time for delay, it's a time for action. Prepare yourself because what God is about to release will change everything. Will you step into this new season with faith and readiness? The time has come for your breakthrough.